before we really get into the mechanics of what healthy code review looks like, one way to frame it is kind of looking at code review in a spectrum. And the spectrum is talking about the complexity and the discussion that you're having on a code change. So on one end of the spectrum, like the most extreme version on the right is like a very large, ambiguous, complicated change. And that is not what you want to happen in general on a code review. So this is something like you're having a debate on the code on like what is the desired behavior of this change? Like what functionally, what should we even be building? Or hey, we have like 3 or 4 different modules here. And I thought we had agreed that, okay, this module will take care of X, Y, and Z, and this one will take care of A, B, and C, but actually you're flipping it. Like that kind of debate shouldn't be happening on a code review. And similarly, architecture. Like if you're having fundamental debates about like how things are organized, it's already you're kind of the ball has been dropped already. So that kind of discussion should happen way before code review. You should have like an architecture or design review with the team, probably synchronously, and hash that out. And then only when you have agreement on that, then you can actually write the code. At the other end of the spectrum, we have what I'll call nitpicks. And a nitpick is basically something very, very tiny. It's like just pretty inconsequential. Not to say that they're not important. They are important, but just like you shouldn't really be wasting time on a code review on this kind of stuff. Spacing, parentheses, like, what line your bracket should go on. Or like, okay, here's how you format the commit message. That kind of stuff is like, why waste a human's time to do all that when you could easily automate it? So typically what you should do is you should have like a linter, like there's a ton of linters for Kotlin or JavaScript or whatever your language is. Agree upon a standardized style, and you should probably have that agreement like in a meeting or something before any code is written, and then have that linter be run automatically on every single commit. And then that way you don't have a human having to monitor all these different things. Okay, so the ideal code review is something in the middle. And what I mean by that is things like naming of a class or a method. Naming is a very important part and a very difficult part of programming. So having a debate about, I think this name is a little bit incorrect. Like that's a great discussion to have a back and forth on in a code review. Questioning different kinds of input, right? Like, so if you say, hey, you're right now assuming that the only inputs into this function are like positive numbers, but what about if you have a negative number for whatever reason, like is an invalid input? How would you handle that? Just make sure you don't crash. Like that kind of thing is a very valid thing to push back on or to question in a code review. Talking about different testing approaches is huge. Like a big part of software engineering is obviously testing. So like, how do you have a discussion about that? And also anticipating future needs, right? A big part of code review is I have some context that you may not have. And so if I'm looking at your code and saying, hey, in a month or 2 months, I think that we're going to have to add this feature. What do you think about the best way to accommodate that feature when it comes so it's not so painful? That's an amazing thing to talk about in a code review. And that's the kind of knowledge or culture transfer that's so fundamental to what we talked about.